The air conditioning in the restaurant hummed a low, indifferent tune, a stark contrast to the sudden, deafening silence that had just fallen over our table. Her hand went to her throat, a casual, elegant gesture, but the world tilted. There it was. My necklace. The one he gave me on our wedding day. The one I hadn't seen in months, the one he'd sworn was lost. It hung there, catching the dim light, a tiny constellation of diamonds against the pale skin of her neck. My breath hitched. It wasn't just similar. It was it. The unique clasp, the tiny flaw in one of the settings I knew intimately. Time didn't stop, it shattered. Each second exploded into a million fragments of disbelief, pain, and a cold, dawning horror. I felt the blood drain from my face, replaced by a glacial calm that was far more terrifying than any outward display of shock. Her eyes met mine across the table, a flicker of something unreadable there. Triumph? Pity? Or just the blank ignorance of someone wearing stolen light? He sat beside her, laughing too loudly at a joke someone else had made, oblivious, or pretending to be. The hum of the AC seemed to grow, filling the space where my heart used to beat. My favorite necklace. On her. And he was right there. Let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. It helps me more than you know. We had a life. A perfectly normal, comfortably predictable life. Mornings smelled of coffee and toast, evenings of whatever we decided to cook, weekends of quiet routines or visiting friends. We had built it brick by brick over 10 years, a sturdy, unassuming structure of shared habits, inside jokes, silent understandings, and comfortable silences. We weren't the couple plastered all over social media, all grand gestures and performative affection. We were the quiet hum in the background, the constant, reliable frequency. Or so I thought. He was dependable. Kind mostly. A little distracted by work sometimes, a little too quiet when something was bothering him, but aren't we all? We had our rhythms, our language. We knew how to navigate each other's moods, how to soothe the small hurts, how to celebrate the small victories. The big picture felt solid. We talked about the future, about renovating the kitchen, about maybe traveling when work slowed down. It was ordinary, but it was ours. It was enough. More than enough. It was everything I had built my present and future upon. The necklace was part of that foundation. It wasn't just jewelry. He gave it to me on our wedding day right after the ceremony before the reception. We had a few minutes alone in a small side room of the venue. He was nervous, fiddling with a small velvet box. He had commissioned it, he said. Designed it himself, working with a local jeweler. It was unique, he told me, like our love. He fastened it around my neck, his fingers fumbling slightly, his eyes shining with a mixture of nerves and overwhelming affection. He told me it was a promise of forever, of light and darkness, of the unbreakable bond we were forging. He said it represented the light I brought into his life, tiny, perfect points of brilliance linked together, forming something stronger, more beautiful than the sum of its parts. He made me a similar promise with a bracelet that matched it, a thinner, more delicate chain he slipped onto my wrist later that night, while we were dancing, the music soft and slow. He whispered that the set was complete, indivisible just like us. A match set, made only for me, a secret symbol of our union. I wore the necklace almost every day for the first few years. It felt like a physical extension of his love, a tangible reminder of that sacred, private moment. It became a part of me. My lucky charm, my confidence booster, my comfort. Over time, I wore it less frequently, saving it for special occasions, but it remained my most treasured possession. It wasn't just gold and diamonds, it was the weight of his promises, the shine of our beginning, the physical embodiment of us. The bracelet was tucked away safely, too delicate for daily wear, a quiet twin waiting for the rare occasions I brought them both out. The first crack in the perfect veneer was small, almost imperceptible. He started working later. Not unusual, his job was demanding. But the late nights became more frequent. The weekend work trips, once rare, became monthly occurrences. He was tired, stressed, he said. He needed space, time to decompress. Our comfortable silences began to feel less comfortable, more like voids. He was physically present, but mentally, emotionally, he was miles away. I told myself it was work stress. I offered support, space, whatever he needed. I tried to be understanding. I was a good wife. I supported him. I held space for his stress. I swallowed my own needs, my own loneliness, telling myself this was temporary, a phase. Then the necklace went missing. I noticed it first. I was getting ready for a friend's wedding, rooting through my jewelry box for something special. It wasn't there. I searched everywhere. My dresser, the bathroom counter, where I sometimes took it off to shower. Nothing. I asked him if he'd seen it. He helped me look, a perfunctory search, shrugging. Maybe it fell off somewhere? Around the house. He didn't seem particularly concerned. He knew how much it meant to me. How could he not be concerned? It bothered me, his lack of reaction, more than the missing necklace itself. He was always so careful with my things. This felt off. But people lose things. Things disappear. I told myself it was an accident. A careless moment. I was sad, deeply sad, but I accepted it. He helped me look again a few days later, a more thorough search this time, but still, nothing. It's gone then, he said finally, with a sigh that sounded more of exasperation than sympathy. Maybe we can get you something new. Something even better. The idea felt like a betrayal in itself. Nothing could be better. Nothing else carried the weight of that day, those promises. But I didn't push it. I let it go. Or, I buried the unease deep down and pretended to let it go. The early struggles were internal. The gnawing doubt. The quiet unease. He was distant, yes, but maybe I was overthinking it. Work was crazy. Men handle stress differently. I made excuses for him, for the growing chasm between us. I tried harder. I cooked his favorite meals. I initiated conversations, physical intimacy. I planned a surprise weekend getaway. He canceled last minute, citing a work emergency. The chasm widened. I felt like I was standing on one side of a canyon, shouting across, and only hearing my own echo. Then she entered the periphery. A new colleague. He mentioned her name casually at first.
Sarah.
She was helping him with a big project. She was smart, dedicated, harmless. He started mentioning her more often.
Sarah did this, Sarah said that.
She had a dry wit, he said, that reminded him of mine. The compliments felt like backhanded insults. They were working closely, long hours. It made sense he'd talk about her, didn't it? My unease sharpened into a tiny, insistent prickle under my skin. I told myself I was being paranoid. Jealous wife trope. Don't be that person. The rising challenges became harder to ignore. His phone habits changed. It was always face down. He took calls in other rooms. Late-night texts would arrive, quickly dismissed as work-related. He was defensive when I asked simple questions. Who was that? Just Bill? Or, increasingly, just Sarah about the project. The casual mentions turned into guarded secrets. The physical distance in our home grew. We occupied the same space, but lived in separate worlds. I started feeling like an intruder in my own life. I saw her picture on his desk calendar once, a small team photo. She was attractive. Not in a flashy way, but in a quiet, understated way. Like the woman my husband used to describe liking. The prickle became a throb. The deep dive into the crisis began subtly, like a slow leak. I wasn't looking for proof. I was looking for reassurance. Searching for something in his closet one day, I found a crumpled dry cleaning ticket in his jacket pocket. It wasn't for his clothes. It was for a woman's dress. A size I didn't wear. The blood went cold. Then came the credit card statements, tucked away in his office drawer, the ones I didn't usually see. Dinners for two, at restaurants we never went to. Flowers. Small gifts. Not large enough to be suspicious on their own, but adding up. Adding up to something ugly. Something undeniable. He was having an affair. The reality landed not with a bang, but a silent, heavy thud that pressed the air from my lungs. It wasn't just the late nights or the phone. It was the calculated deceit, the planning, the double life. And the necklace. The missing necklace suddenly took on a new, sinister significance. He hadn't lost it. He had given it away. To her. The symbol of our bond, given to the woman he was bonding with instead. The thought was a physical blow. It felt like he had taken my heart, ripped it out, and offered it to someone else. The pain was searing, absolute. I confronted him. Not with anger, but with a quiet, broken question. The dry cleaning ticket. The statements. He folded. Not with remorse, but with weary resignation.
Yes, he said.
Yes, there was someone else. It had just happened, he claimed. It didn't mean anything. A distraction. A mistake. He was stressed.
He was confused.
He didn't love her. It was just easy. He looked tired, not guilty. That hurt the most. Not the confession itself, but the casual way he dismissed years of shared life, of promises, of love, as if it were a minor inconvenience, a mistake like forgetting to buy milk. I asked about the necklace. My voice was trembling. Where is it? What did you do with it? He shifted, avoiding my eyes. He stammered, mumbled something about selling it, needing cash for a quick trip. A lie so transparent, so clumsy it was insulting. Selling my necklace? The one he designed, the one he called a promise? The one he knew I treasured above all else? My heart hardened. This wasn't confusion or stress. This was cold, calculated betrayal. He wasn't just breaking our vows. He was erasing our history, piece by piece, starting with the brightest symbol of our beginning. The deepening crisis became about survival. He didn't end it with her. He promised he would, but I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that he was still seeing her. The lies continued, stacking up like an unstable tower. Our home, once a sanctuary, felt poisoned. Every corner held a memory that was now twisted, tainted by his deceit. The air was thick with unspoken truths and active lies. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. My world shrank to the size of my own suffocating misery. Friends noticed. I offered vague explanations, stress, work issues. I was ashamed. Ashamed that my perfect, ordinary life was a lie. Ashamed that I had been so blind. Ashamed that the man I had built my life with was a stranger capable of such profound cruelty. I watched him, observed him, the way he checked his phone, the subtle changes in his routine. I felt like a detective in my own home, searching for clues in the wreckage of my marriage. It was exhausting, humiliating, and heartbreaking. The other woman, Sarah, was no longer a periphery character. She was a looming shadow, stealing my husband, wearing my life. The thought of her wearing my necklace, the necklace that held the most sacred moment of my marriage, was a physical ache. It felt like she was wearing my skin, mocking me with something stolen from my soul. The idea of leaving him felt like climbing Everest in a blizzard. 10 years. A shared history, shared friends, shared finances. It wasn't just a relationship, it was an intertwined existence. Untangling it felt impossible. And the thought of walking away, wounded and diminished, while they continued their sordid affair, perhaps even with my stolen necklace as some sort of perverse trophy, the injustice of it was a fire in my gut. I spent weeks in this fog of pain and confusion. I talked to a lawyer, tentatively exploring my options. It was complicated. He hadn't done anything wrong enough in the eyes of the law to warrant. What? Punishment? A swift, clean break? Adultery in itself often means little in court. It was emotionally devastating, but legally it was messy. It felt like I would walk away with half of our material possessions, maybe, but he would walk away with my history, my sense of self, and the woman he chose over me, perhaps still wearing my necklace. The thought was unbearable. Then, sitting alone one evening, staring at the empty space in my jewelry box where the necklace should have been, something shifted. The pain didn't disappear, but it cold-sled. It sharpened into something cold and clear, determination. I wasn't going to be the wounded wife who quietly faded away. I wasn't going to let him rewrite our history or let her parade around in my stolen memories. He took something precious from me, something that symbolized us. But he didn't take everything. He didn't take my memory. He didn't take my knowledge. And he certainly didn't take my capacity to fight. The determination settled in my bones, cold and heavy. I wasn't fighting for him anymore. I was fighting for myself,
For my dignity.
for the truth, for something more valuable than any necklace. My focus changed, from mourning the past to planning the future. A future that didn't include him. But I wouldn't leave quietly, diminished. I would leave on my own terms, with my head held high. And I would ensure the truth, my truth, was undeniable. I started thinking, strategically, what did I have? What did he have? What did she have? He had the affair, the lies, the stolen necklace. She had him and the necklace. What did I have? I had the knowledge of everything he had promised me, everything that necklace represented. I had the memory of that wedding day, his words, his promises. And then I remembered the bracelet, the matching one, the quieter twin he had given me later that night. Where was it? I hadn't worn it often. It was delicate, easily snagged. I searched through old boxes, storage bins.
There.
Tucked away in a small, velvet pouch I had completely forgotten about. The bracelet. Its delicate diamonds catching the light. It was still here. His indivisible set, separated. One piece gone, a symbol of the broken bond. But the other piece remained. And suddenly, an idea began to form. It wasn't just about having the bracelet. It was about proving the connection, the intended connection. The necklace and bracelet weren't just two pieces of jewelry. They were a set. A unique, commissioned set given specifically for our wedding, symbolizing our union. How could I prove that? How could I prove the depth of the promise he made, the significance he attached to it when he gave it to me? The wedding video. We had it professionally filmed. A full video capturing the ceremony, the reception, the speeches. Everything. I hadn't watched it in years. It felt too painful now, a relic of a life that was crumbling. But I dug it out, found the old DVD player, sat alone in the dark living room, watching the younger versions of ourselves, radiant and full of hope. I fast-forwarded through the ceremony, the vows, the first dance. I found the moment, the small side room. Him, nervous, fumbling with the box. The close-up as he fastened the necklace around my neck. And his words, clear, captured forever on tape. It's a promise, he said, his voice thick with emotion. A promise of forever, of light in darkness, of our unbreakable bond. Like this set, commissioned just for you.
Unique.
Indivisible later, the scene on the dance floor. Slipping the bracelet onto my wrist. The set is complete, he whispered, just like us. There it was. Undeniable proof. Proof that the necklace was a unique, commissioned piece. Proof that it was part of a set he called indivisible. Proof that he had given it to me as a sacred symbol of our marriage, our bond, our promises. Proof that he knew exactly what he was doing when he gave it away. He hadn't just given away jewelry. He had given away a piece of our wedding, a piece of our history, a piece of my heart, and wrapped it up as a gift for his mistress. And I had the documentation. The bracelet, still in my possession, proving the set existed and was incomplete. The video, proving its origin, its intended meaning, and his own words cementing its significance. The turning point arrived when I stopped crying about the betrayal and started planning the unveiling. I wasn't interested in a quiet divorce. I wanted the truth to be seen, to be undeniable, especially to the people who knew us, who saw us as the normal, reliable couple. I needed witnesses. I needed the confrontation to happen in a setting where escape wasn't easy and denial was impossible. I decided to host a dinner party. A small, intimate gathering. Our closest mutual friends. And I would invite Sarah. I needed her there. I needed her to be wearing it. I concocted a plausible reason to invite her. Networking, introducing her to some influential people who might help her career, whatever. My husband was uneasy about it, but couldn't outright object without revealing something himself. He played along, oblivious to the trap I was setting. Sarah accepted, likely oblivious as well, perhaps even eager to solidify her place by his side in our social circle. The day of the dinner party felt surreal. I moved through the motions of preparation, cooking, cleaning, setting the table, with a strange, detached calm. It was like watching myself in a movie. The pain was still there, a low thrum beneath my skin, but it was contained, channeled into a steely resolve. I dressed carefully, choosing an outfit that was simple, elegant, and utterly me. I put on the matching bracelet, the one he had given me with a necklace, the one I hadn't worn in years. Its delicate weight on my wrist felt like armor. Guests arrived. The atmosphere was light, chatty. Sarah arrived with him. She was wearing a simple black dress. And the necklace. My necklace. It hung there, bright and defiant, just as it had in the restaurant weeks ago. My breath caught, but I didn't falter. I smiled, a cool, polite smile, and greeted them both. She seemed a little nervous, unsure of her place. He seemed relieved, playing the part of the gracious host alongside me. The hypocrisy was breathtaking.
Dinner was served. We talked, laughed.
The conversations felt strained, artificial, at least to me. Every time my eyes landed on the necklace, a fresh wave of cold fury washed over me. He saw me looking once, followed my gaze to her neck, and his eyes flickered with something unreadable, apprehension?
Warning?
Too late. The climax began after dinner. We were gathered in the living room, coffee and drinks in hand. The mood was still light, though perhaps a little tired. I stood up. The room quieted slightly, expecting me to perhaps announce dessert or propose a toast. I smiled again, but this time there was no warmth in it. Only the cold, hard edge of truth. "Thank you all for coming," I began, my voice clear and steady. "It's lovely to have friends around, especially during transitions." A few people exchanged glances. He looked at me, a question in his eyes. Sarah just sat there, sipping her drink, the necklace glittering. "I wanted to share something with you tonight," I continued. "Something important. Something that defines
Certain moments in life.
moments of significance. Moments of promise." I paused, letting the words hang in the air. His smile faltered. Sarah looked curious. "As you all know," I said, turning slightly to address the room more fully, "John and I, we built a life together. 10 years. And on our wedding day, he gave me a gift. A very special gift. A necklace." I gestured vaguely toward Sarah, not pointing directly, but guiding their eyes. Several people followed my gaze to her neck. A ripple of confusion went through the room. Why was I talking about my wedding necklace and looking at her? "It was a unique piece," I said, my voice dropping slightly, becoming more intimate, drawing them in. "Commissioned just for me. A promise of forever. And it came with a matching piece." I held up my wrist, showing the delicate diamond bracelet. It caught the light, a perfect, undeniable match to the necklace around Sarah's throat. Silence fell. Absolute, crushing silence. All eyes were now fixed on the two pieces of jewelry, linked across the room by my words and his betrayal. Sarah's hand instinctively went to the necklace. Her eyes widened, looking from the bracelet on my wrist to the diamonds on her own neck, then to him, a dawning horror on her face. He froze. His eyes darted between the bracelet on my wrist and the necklace on her neck, then to the faces of our friends, their expressions ranging from confusion to dawning understanding to shock. His face drained of color. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. "He told me it was lost," I said, my voice calm, almost conversational, cutting through the silence like a razor. "Months ago. He helped me look. Said maybe it fell off. Said we could get something new. Something better." My eyes locked onto his. "He didn't lose it. He gave it away. To Sarah." A collective gasp went through the room. All eyes swiveled to him, then to Sarah, then back to me. Sarah looked utterly shell-shocked, her face pale. She looked at him, searching for an explanation, a denial. He was frozen, trapped. "He gave away the symbol of our marriage," I stated, my voice still steady, betraying none of the turmoil inside. A commission set, unique, indivisible, he called it. A promise. I paused, letting the full weight of the word hang there. And, because I anticipated certain denials, I brought something else. I picked up a remote from the coffee table. We had our wedding professionally videoed, I said, as if this were a perfectly normal thing to bring up at a dinner party. Captured every moment, including the moment he gave me the necklace, and what he said about it. I pressed play on the DVD player. The screen on the large TV flickered to life, showing grainy but clear footage of a small side room. Young me, in my wedding dress, smiling nervously. Young him, looking handsome and emotional, fumbling with the velvet box. The camera zoomed in slightly as he opened it, revealing the necklace. His hands shaking as he fastened it around my neck. The camera focused on his face as he looked at me, his eyes shining. And then, his voice, amplified and clear, filling the silent living room. "It's a promise," Young him said from the screen, his voice full of tenderness and earnestness. "A promise of forever, of light in darkness, of our unbreakable bond. Like this set commissioned just for you. Unique. Indivisible." The video continued for a few more seconds, showing him adjust the necklace, his loving gaze. Then I paused it. The image of his younger, sincere face, full of love and promise, hung on the screen, a brutal contrast to the pale, cornered man sitting opposite me. The silence was deafening. The air crackled with tension. Everyone was staring. At the screen, at him, at Sarah, at the necklace, at my bracelet. Sarah looked like she wanted to disappear. She fumbled with the clasp of the necklace, as if suddenly realizing the weight of what she was wearing. He finally broke his frozen state. His face contorted, not with remorse, but with pure, unadulterated rage and humiliation. He looked utterly blindsided. He hadn't anticipated this. He must have thought I'd yell, cry, perhaps confront them quietly later. He hadn't imagined I would expose him, so clinically, so undeniably, using his own past words and actions as the weapon. He hadn't imagined I had the bracelet, the video, the proof of his specific, sacred promise tied directly to the object he gave away. His jaw worked, his eyes blazing. He looked at the screen, at his past self damning his present. He looked at me, his gaze full of pure hatred. He looked at Sarah, who was now trying to discreetly take the necklace off. And then he exploded. He didn't just scream. It was a guttural roar, the sound of a trapped animal. "You," he shrieked, pointing a trembling finger at me. "You planned this. You witch. You evil, manipulative bitch." His face was scarlet, contorted with fury. He half rose from his seat, knocking over a glass of water with a crash. Water spread across the rug, unnoticed. "How dare you? How dare you do this to me?" he screamed, his voice cracking. He was on his feet now, looming, his eyes wild. "It was just a stupid necklace. You're making this up. That video is fake. You're lying." His denial was pathetic, undermined by the clear image on the screen, by the bracelet on my wrist, by the necklace on Sarah's neck, by the stunned faces of our friends. Sarah was scrambling now, finally getting the clasp open, fumbling with the necklace, as if it were a burning coal. She looked terrified, caught in the crossfire of his rage. "It's not fake, John," I said softly, my voice a low counterpoint to his screaming. "It's our wedding video. Your words. Your promise. Unique. Indivisible. You gave away the unique, indivisible symbol of our marriage to your friend. And you lied about it." He lunged towards me, but one of our friends, Mark, a big, quiet man, quickly stepped between us, putting a hand on his chest. "Hey, John, calm down," Mark said firmly. "Calm down," John roared, trying to push past Mark. "She's destroying me. She's making me look like a fool." "You're doing a pretty good job of that yourself right now, John," another friend, Lisa, said, her voice sharp with disgust. The atmosphere had shifted completely. The friends weren't just witnesses anymore. They were judging him. Sarah, meanwhile, had finally wrestled the necklace free. She held it out towards me, her hand shaking. "Here," she whispered, her eyes wide with panic. I didn't know. He told me he bought it for me. Another lie, exposed instantly. My husband bought her a necklace that happened to be identical to the unique, commissioned, indivisible set he gave me on our wedding day. In front of witnesses who had just heard him describe it in the video? It was ludicrous. "Did he also give you the matching bracelet, Sarah?" I asked her quietly. Her face crumpled. "No," she whispered. "Because he couldn't," I said, holding up my wrist again. "He couldn't give away the whole indivisible set, could he? Just one piece. To make you feel special, perhaps. Using something he stole from me. Something that represented everything he promised me he would never break." John was still raving, pacing now, running his hands through his hair, his face a mask of fury and despair. "It doesn't mean anything. It's just a thing. You're blowing this out of proportion. Is that what you told yourself when you took it?" I asked, looking him dead in the eye. "When you lied to me about it being lost. When you handed it to her, the symbol of our wedding, our vows, our promises." The air was thick with his humiliation, her shame, and the stunned silence of our friends. His screaming slowly subsided, replaced by ragged breaths and choked sounds of pure, defeated rage. He glared at me, trapped, exposed, his lies laid bare for everyone to see, not by my accusations alone, but by his own past words, preserved on video, and the undeniable evidence of the matching bracelet. He had been completely blindsided. He thought he was having a quiet affair, maybe dispose of the evidence of his past life. He never imagined I would turn his own actions into the instrument of his public downfall. The win wasn't just getting the necklace back, it was reclaiming the narrative, proving his character, and ensuring that everyone knew the truth of his deceit, leaving him with nothing but his exposed lies and his fury. He didn't just lose the argument. He lost his reputation, his carefully constructed facade, everything. The immediate aftermath was chaos. Our friends, bless them, quickly made awkward excuses and left, leaving us alone in the shattered remains of the dinner party. Sarah, clutching the necklace as if it might explode, also mumbled apologies and fled. My husband stood there, breathing heavily, eyes fixed on me with an intensity that promised retribution. But the fight had drained out of him, at least for that moment. The raw humiliation was too potent. He didn't scream again. He just stood there, trembling, the image of his younger self on the paused screen behind him a silent, damning witness. I didn't feel triumphant. The cold satisfaction was there, yes, the grim pleasure of seeing his carefully constructed world implode. But beneath it was a profound, aching sadness. This was the man I had loved, the man who had promised me forever. This was the wreckage of 10 years of my life. The wind felt hollowed out by the loss. He stumbled out of the room without another word, slamming the front door behind him. I heard his car screech out of the driveway moments later. I was left alone in the silent house, surrounded by the physical debris of the party, scattered glasses, spilled water, uneaten dessert, mirroring the emotional debris scattered across my life. I walked over to the coffee table and picked up the remote. I rewound the wedding video to the beginning, the smiling faces, the hopeful vows. I watched it all the way through, from start to finish, tears finally streaming down my face. It was painful, gut-wrenching, but it was also necessary. I needed to remember what was real, what was promised, before it was all tainted by the betrayal. That day was real. His promises in that moment felt real. The necklace, when he put it around my neck, was a symbol of love. He had twisted it, corrupted it, but its original meaning wasn't erased. Not for me. I found the necklace Sarah had dropped on her way out. It lay on the floor, sparkling innocently in the dim light. I picked it up. It felt heavy in my hand, no longer a symbol of love, but a symbol of deceit and exposure. Its twin, the bracelet, still lay against my wrist, a delicate anchor. The set was complete again, but the completeness felt different now. It wasn't about unity anymore. It was about reclamation. Reclaiming what was mine. Reclaiming my story. The days that followed were a blur of phone calls to the lawyer, difficult conversations with friends, and the logistical nightmare of separating a life. The public exposure at the dinner party spread quickly through our social circle. There was no hiding, no pretending. His carefully guarded image was shattered. The screaming fit he'd had, witnessed by others, only cemented the impression of a man unraveling, caught red-handed. He tried to fight back initially, denied everything, claimed I was crazy, malicious, that the video was edited, the bracelet wasn't a set, anything. But too many people had seen it, heard it. The quiet, undeniable power of documented truth was on my side. His rage looked like guilt. His denials sounded like desperation. The humiliation of that night had broken something in him, some core of arrogance that allowed him to think he could get away with anything. He was no longer the dependable, quiet man I thought I married. He was just a man caught in his own lies, stripped bare in front of an audience. Sarah, I heard, was mortified. She quickly distanced herself from him. The necklace I kept. It sits in my jewelry box now, not on my neck. I look at it sometimes. It doesn't represent love anymore. It represents a battle fought and won. A reminder that even when everything seems lost, you can find the evidence, the truth, the strength to turn the tables. The bracelet remains on my wrist more often now. It's the piece that stayed with me, the quiet twin that endured. It feels like a reminder of my own resilience. The divorce was easier than it might have been. With the truth exposed, his position was weakened. He had less leverage, less room to maneuver. The financial settlement was fair. I kept the house. He moved away, his reputation tarnished in our shared community. I didn't seek revenge beyond the truth. The exposure itself was enough. Seeing him scream, utterly blindsided and defeated by his own past, was a cold, satisfying victory. Life isn't perfect now. It's different. Quieter in some ways, louder in others. There's still pain, the scar tissue of betrayal. But there's also a profound sense of freedom. I rebuilt my life, brick by brick, just like before. But this time, the foundation is built on truth, not assumption. The necklace is a reminder of what was lost, but the bracelet is a reminder of what was saved. Myself. If this story hit close to home, I'd love to hear a version in the comments below. And if you haven't already, subscribing helps bring more of these stories to life. Thanks for being here.